Jack Harlan gripped the steering wheel of his battered pickup, eyes locked on the dusty roadside flea market stall ahead. Rain-slicked asphalt gleamed under the grey Michigan sky as he pulled over, drawn by a glint of tarnished metal among the junk. There it was, a miniature submarine no bigger than a loaf of bread, perched on a folding table like a forgotten relic from another era. The vendor, an old-timer with grease-stained gears, shrugged when Jack asked. $10, found it in my grandpa's attic. Model from the 60s, I think. He handed over the crumpled bill without haggling, heart picking up pace as he cradled the sub in his calloused palms. Jack was no stranger to submerged secrets. 3 tours in the Navy had taught him that. Now retired, scraping by on a pension in this rust-belt town. Odd jobs barely covering the rent, but this toy, no, this artifact, felt heavier than it should. Cold steel hull, faded markings, USS something or other. He turned it over in the cab, thumb tracing a seam that didn't quite match the rest. If you're hooked on stories like this that uncover hidden fortunes from the past, hit that subscribe button right now, share with a friend who loves a good mystery, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Let's build this community together. Back home in his dim garage, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, Jack set the sub on his workbench cluttered with model ship parts from his hobby days. The rain pattered against the window like impatient jers. He fetched his toolkit, the one that had seen him through engine repairs on destroyers, a flathead screwdriver wedged into the hull's underbelly, where a faint weld line whispered of tampering. It resisted at first, then gave with a metallic pop that echoed too loudly in the empty space. A hinged panel swung open, revealing not gears or ballast, but a watertight compartment lined in faded velvet. Inside lay a stack of documents, brittle as autumn leaves, bundled in oilcloth. Jack's breath caught. Yellowed pages, typed in precise military font, stamped with seals he recognized from classified brigs. CIA, maybe older. Maps folded tight, coordinates marked in red ink along forgotten coastlines. Photographs, too, grainy shots of harbors, vessels slipping through fog-shrouded waters. His gears hovered, pulse thundering. This wasn't kids' play, this was cargo from the shadows of the Cold War. He spread them out under the lamp, mind racing. One dossier detailed Operation Shadow, intercepts of Soviet subs off Alaska. Another held manifests, lists of rare isotopes, tech blueprints smuggled out before walls fell. Values scribbled in margins, millions if authenticated. 90 million, one note claimed, in today's dollars. Jack leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow despite the chill. Who seals this in a model sub? A defector's drop? A traitor's stash? His own past flickered. Nights off Vietnam coasts, sonar pings chasing ghosts. But expertise called for caution. He photographed each page with his phone, hands steady from years of precision work. No rushing to pawn shops, fakes flooded markets like this. He cross-referenced online, forums for militaria collectors buzzing with similar whispers. Real? Experts pegged these docs as one of a kind, lost in agency purges. Forged? Possible, but the patina, the ink bleed, too authentic. Tension coiled in his gut. Sell? Leverage for a better life? Or report? Risk vanishing into bureaucracy? Dawn crept in as he worked, coffee gone cold. A knock shattered the silence, his neighbor Earl peering through the grease-streaked window. Heard you tinkering all night, Jack. De-treasure in that flea market junk. Jack forced a grin, sliding the panel shut. Just a hobby, Earl. Old habits. But as the man shuffled off, Jack's eyes narrowed. Word spread fast in towns like this. He locked the garage, docs tucked in a hidden drawer. First light brought decisions, appraise quietly or dig deeper into the sub's origins. By noon, he'd traced the vendor's lineage online. Grandpa, a Navy machinist, stationed Pearl Harbor post-Wave 2. A lead. But unease gnawed. Shadows lengthened outside, and Jack felt watched. He fired up his ancient computer, emailing a discreet contact from his service days, a curator at the Smithsonian Annex. Need eyes on this. Urgent. Response pinged back fast. Bring it tomorrow. And Jack, Watch your back." As evening fell, he sat staring at the sub, its hull now a Pandora's puzzle, 90 million in whispers, but at what cost? His phone buzzed, an unknown number. He let it ring, tension thickening the air like fog over the Great Lakes. If this tale of buried secrets has you on the edge, smash like, subscribe for part 2 dropping soon, and comment your guess. What's the real story behind those docks? Jack Harlan gripped the rusted hull tighter, the chill of Lake Michigan's mist seeping into his knuckles. That miniature submarine, barely the size of a loaf of bread, sat heavy in his palm, its sealed compartment now cracked open like a forbidden vault. Inside, brittle parchments curled at the edges, stamped with faded insignias that screamed old-world secrets. He wasn't some treasure hunter, just a retired Navy vet scraping by on a pension in a sagging Milwaukee duplex. The kind where the radiators hissed like angry ghosts through endless winters. He'd snagged it for $10 at a flea market off I-94 from a guy with grease-stained gears who muttered about junk from the war. Jack figured it'd make a quirky desk ornament, something to distract from the empty shelves and the echo of his late wife's laugh. But now, those documents whispered of fortunes. Maps etched with coordinates hugging forgotten Baltic shores. Letters in coded Cyrillic referencing assets valued at 90 million in today's dollars. Rare Cold War blueprints smuggled out before the Iron Curtain slammed shut. Jack's pulse thrummed. One peek at an auction site confirmed it. Collectors would kill for these. Not literally, but close enough. He slid the sub into a lockbox under his workbench, the clang echoing in the dim garage. Outside, the fog thickened, headlights blurring into halos on the slick pavement. Jack poured black coffee, hands steady from decades of drills, but his mind raced. Who'd built this thing? A Soviet defector? A US spy playing both sides? The stamps dated to '62, peak Cuban Missile Crisis haze. He scanned a single page under his desk lamp, the yellowed ink revealing shipment logs for prototype tech that could rewrite naval history. 90 million. Enough to fix the roof, pay off debts, maybe even breathe without the weight of what-ifs. Footsteps crunched gravel outside. Jack froze. His garage light spilled a weak glow onto the alley, where shadows stretched long. A sedan idled at the curb, engine purring low, no plates visible in the murk. Paranoia or instinct honed from patrols in stormy seas? He dimmed the lamp, peered through the grimy window. 2 figures emerged, suits too sharp for this neighborhood, one fiddling with a cigarette, the other scanning phones. Jack's gut twisted. Flea market guy, or worse, someone who'd been watching. If you're hooked on Jack's discovery and dying to know who those shadows belong to, hit that like button, subscribe for the next drop, and drop a comment. From where are you watching this channel? He backed away, breath shallow. The documents burned in his thoughts. Leverage or liability? Jack wasn't naive. Vets like him knew the game's underbelly. Governments buried skeletons deeper than Lake Huron. He grabbed his old service pistol from the shelf, not loaded, just familiar weight. The sedan door creaked open. Voices murmured, low and urgent, laced with accents that didn't match the Midwest drawl, Eastern European. Jack's mind flashed to declassified files he'd read in VA waiting rooms, defectors vanishing after leaks like this. A knock rattled the side door, sharp, insistent. "Mr. Harlan, saw your light on. Mind if we talk about that sub you bought?" The voice was polished, too friendly. Jack stayed silent, pulse hammering like depth charges. He slipped the lockbox into a false panel behind the toolbox. Years of tinkering had taught him hiding spots. The knock came again, harder. "We know what's inside. Rare D. Worth a fortune." Jack's jaw clenched. How? Flea market chatter, or had the sub been bait? He edged to the back exit, fog swallowing his footsteps as he circled the house. The sedan blocked the driveway, figures now at his front porch, silhouetted against sodium streetlights. One pulled out a tablet, swiping, photos of the market stall. Jack's booth. His breath fogged the air. Run, fight, or play dumb. He ducked into the neighbor's overgrown yard, heart slamming. Sirens wailed distant, routine patrol or response to something uglier. The figures lingered, then retreated to their car, tires crunching slow as they U-turned, gone. For now. Jack waited, muscles coiled until silence returned. Back inside, he unsealed the box again. One document stood out. A manifest signed by a ghost from history, tying the sub to a vanished freighter off Superior's coast. 90 million in intel. But at what cost? Dawn crept grey over the lakeshore, Jack pacing his kitchen. Sell underground? Auction legit? Or destroy them? His reflection in the window showed lines etched deeper than yesterday. A man who'd survived storms, now adrift in his own. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. He let it ring, dread pooling cold. The game had started, and Jack Harlan intended to win it. Jack stared at the screen until it went dark, the silence thicker than fog off the Pacific. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. Same number. His thumb hovered, pulse steady from years of drills. He answered. Harlan. The voice on the other end was polished. Like a suit that cost more than his truck. You've got something that doesn't belong to you. Let's talk price. Jack's grip tightened. Who is this? A collector. The kind who pays top dollar for history. Meet me at the old pier midnight. Come alone with the sub. Click. No trace, no name. Jack pocketed the phone and scanned the motel room's peeling walls. The miniature submarine sat on the dresser, its sealed compartment now pried open, spilling yellowed parchments that whispered of forgotten wars, blueprints etched with codes no civilian should see. He'd authenticated them online, Cold War relics, smuggled intel worth fortunes to museums, governments, shadows. He couldn't sell, not yet. First, understand. Jack bundled the docs into a waterproof pouch, slid them under the truck's spare tire. Dusk bled into night as he drove Coastal Highway 1, salt wind whipping through the cracked window. Memories surfaced unbidden, patrols in the South China Sea, subs ghosting below like predators. This toy model, no toy, crafted in the 60s, maybe a prototype mock-up hiding microfilm secrets. The pier loomed, skeletal under sodium lights. Waves gnashed below, rhythmic as a countdown. Jack parked a block away, approached on foot, eyes tracing every shadow. A black sedan idled at he, headlights off. The door swung open. The man stepped out. Mid-40s, lean, raincoat flapping like wings. Harlan, right on time. His accent was faint Eastern European, eyes scanning Jack like a threat assessment. You know my name. Fair enough. Jack kept distance, hands visible. What's your interest in a kid's bath toy? The man smiled, thin as a blade. Not a toy, a courier. Those papers? Maps to lost caches, gold, tech, leverage, 90 million at auction, easy. Hand them over, walk with 10%. Jack's laugh was low, edged. And if I don't, then others come, hungrier. The man glanced at his watch. Tick-tock, veteran. You've got moves, but we have numbers. Footsteps echoed from the gloom. 2 figures emerging from the sedan's rear, bulks in dark jackets. Jack's instincts fired. Flank left, cover right. He backed toward a stack of crates, mind-mapping exits. Who's we? Museum board? Or something with more reach? The man shrugged. Connections. The kind that rewrite histories. He extended a gloved hand. Deal? Jack feinted left, bolted right. Crates splintered under a lunge from the first thug. He drove an elbow into ribs, felt the give, spun into the second. Fists flew in the sodium haze, grunts swallowed by surf. One grabbed his collar, Jack twisted free, knee to gut, then shoved him overboard. Splash, curse, scramble. The leader fired a silenced shot, ping off metal. Jack dove behind a pylon, breath controlled. Wrong move! Heart hammering, he circled, using the pier's maze. The man pursued, calm, pistol low. You're making this hard! Voice closer now. Jack smelled cologne over brine. He waited, then lunged, tackle low, sending them both skidding. The gun clattered into the drink. Fists met jaw. Jack tasted copper, swung back harder. Years of PT paid off. The man reeled, eyes wide. "Who sent you?" Jack pinned him, forearm to throat. A cough. "Bigger than you know. Auctions in 3 days. Monaco." Sirens wailed distant. Someone saw the scuffle. The thug from the water hauled up. They retreated to the sedan, tires screeching into night. Jack slumped against a bollard, ribs aching, a pouch safe under the seat. The docks burned in his mind, not just paper keys to power plays still alive. He needed allies, not buyers. An old Navy contact in San Diego? Risky, but better than solo. Dawn crept grey as he limped to the truck, engine roaring to life. The road ahead twisted like the sub's secrets. Pursuit wasn't over, it was just warming up. If this tale's got you hooked on the edge of forgotten histories, smash that subscribe button, share with a fellow thrill seeker, and drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Your stories fuel the next twist. Jack's hands trembled as he pried open the rusted hatch, the faint click echoing in his dim garage like a whisper from the deep. Dust motes danced in the single bulb's glow, settling on yellowed parchment stacked tighter than a submariner's bunk. He pulled one out, its edges crisp despite the decades, scripted in faded ink that spoke of secrets buried under ocean waves. The veteran leaned closer, breath shallow. Coordinates scrawled in margins, Pacific atolls unmarked on any public chart. Names jumped out. Operation Black Tide, signatures from admirals long retired. Not just papers, blueprints, prototypes for vessels that never surfaced in history books. His pulse quickened. A single sheet could fetch thousands at auction. This haul? Life-altering. But footsteps crunched outside. Jack froze, stuffed the documents back into the watertight tube. The miniature sub's hull gleamed mockingly under the light, a toy that hid fortunes. He snapped the compartment shut, shoving the whole thing under his workbench. The garage door rattled. "Mr. Harlan, you home?" It was the neighbor, old Pete from down the block, but Jack's instincts fired like in Nam foxholes. Paranoia, or something sharper. He cracked the side door. "What you want, Pete?" Pete squinted, eyes darting past him. "Heard you scored big at the flea market. That brass thing? Folks talking. Some collector called the yard sale lady, asking questions." His voice dropped. "Offered her 100 for leads on the buyer." Jack's jaw tightened. Words spread faster than he thought. That $10 steal now a beacon. He waved Pete off, bolted the door, and dragged a tarp over the sub. Night fell heavy, Florida humidity pressing like an unseen weight. He paced, mind racing through options. Sell quick? Verify first? The documents burned in his thoughts, rare artifacts from a forgotten naval experiment smuggled out by a rogue engineer, 90 million in value, whispered appraisals in his head from late-night scrolls on black market forums. Dawn broke with a knock that shook the frame. Not Pete. 2 men in crisp suits, badges glinting. Federal, private. "Sir, we're from Heritage Recovery. Mind if we talk about a recent purchase?" The taller one smiled, but his eyes scanned the shadows. Jack played dumb, leaning on the doorframe. "Yard sale junk. What's it to you?" Inside, sweat beaded. They knew. How? The papers detailed submersible tech predating modern drones, lost designs that could rewrite tech timelines. Governments would kill, metaphorically, for them. Or worse, they pressed. "Description matches. Mind showing us?" Tension coiled. Jack's war stories flashed. Ambushes, extractions. He stalled. "Out back. Wait here." He slipped inside, grabbed the sub, 15 pounds of peril, and eyed the back exit. Alleyway freedom or trap? Engine roar outside. Another vehicle. Heart hammering. He vaulted the fence, sub clutched like a grenade. Tires screeched as suits spilled out, shouting, "Harlan, stop!" He sprinted through backyards, mangroves clawing at his sleeves. The sub bounced against his chest, documents shifting inside. Flashlights pierced the dusk. Had night fallen again? Time blurred in the chase. Bayou paths twisted, familiar from fishing trips, now a labyrinth of escape. A boat bobbed at the dock, his old John boat. Keys in ignition, always ready. He shoved off, motor coughing to life. Pursuit lights bobbed on shore, but water swallowed his wake. Miles out, under stars pricked like shrapnel scars, Jack slowed. The sub sat between his boots, mocking his flight. He pried it open again, waves lapping. One document caught moonlight, a manifest, not just tech. Manifests of vanished prototypes, tied to wartime vanishings. Value skyrocketed in his mind. But trust? Whom? Auction houses skimmed, feds seized, private eyes like those suits, hired muscle for deeper pockets. Phone buzzed, burner he'd grabbed, unknown number. Harlan, we know what you have. Meet at the old pier, midnight, or it vanishes with you. Voice distorted, calm as a depth charge. Jack crushed the phone, tossed it overboard. The gulf stretched endless, a mirror to his doubt. Sell, destroy, leverage. The veteran who'd survived jungles now navigated a war of whispers. As the pier loomed, shadows waited. His choice, dive in or surface the truth. If this chase has your pulse racing through hidden depths, hit that like button, subscribe for the explosive ale, share with your adventure crew, and comment your wildest treasured below. Jack's hands trembled as he gripped the rusted hatch, the dim garage light casting long shadows across the workbench. The miniature submarine, no bigger than a loaf of bread, had sat forgotten in his garage for weeks since that flea market D. $10, pocket change for a relic that now whispered secrets worth fortunes. He'd pried it open with a screwdriver, revealing the sealed compartment. Brittle parchments, yellowed maps, and encoded ledgers tucked inside like a time capsule from the Pacific Theater. Experts later confirmed it. Lost blueprints from a covert operation, patents predating modern tech giants, valued at $90 million if auctioned right. But the truth wasn't just the windfall, it was the shadow trailing him. Harlan Crow, a sharp-suited collector with ties to shadowy auctions, had caught wind through a careless appraiser's slip. Crow didn't ask nicely. His men appeared like ghosts. First a tail on Jack's old pickup, then slashed tires outside the diner. Jack, 78 and wiry from decades of manual labor, felt the noose tighten. He wasn't running blind. Years in uniform had taught him evasion, spotting patterns in the mundane. Pulse steady, Jack slipped the documents into a waterproof pouch and drove south under cover of dusk, the Appalachians swallowing his taillights. Rain slicked the winding roads, wipers thumping like a metronome. In the rearview, headlights flickered, Crow's crew, persistent but sloppy. Jack veered onto a gravel side road, memory guiding him to an abandoned mill from his youth. He killed the engine, breath fogging the glass, and waited. Footsteps crunched outside. Two figures emerged, silhouettes against the storm. "Come on out, old-timer!" one called, voice edged with impatience. "We know what you've got. Hand it over, walk away rich." Jack chambered around in his inherited shotgun, legal, registered, loaded with rock salt for warnings. He stepped into the downpour, rain masking his approach. "Rich? This ain't about money. It's history you vultures want to bury." The first lunged, but Jack sidestepped, the shotgun's bark echoing as salt pellets stung flesh and sent the man sprawling. The second hesitated, eyes wide, complexity cracking his facade. Not a thug, but a desperate appraiser in over his head, blackmailed by Crow. "Please," he stammered, hands up. "Crow's ruthless. He'll ruin us all." Jack lowered the barrel fractionally. Tension coiled like a spring. He saw his own reflection in the man's fear. Vietnam flashbacks, choices that haunted. Tell Crow the docks stay buried unless he backs off. Permanently. The man nodded frantically, scrambling to his partner. Tires spun mud as they fled. Jack didn't chase. Dawn broke grey as he reached his cabin, documents safe. Crow called later, voice silk over gravel. Impressive veteran. But deals like this, they evolve. Jack hung up. No bluff. He contacted a trusted archivist at the National Archives. Quiet channels, no fanfare. Authentication took months. Scrutiny peeling back layers. The documents proved pivotal. Designs that influenced post-war innovations, smuggled out by a rogue engineer fearing corporate theft. 90 million wasn't hype. Bids poured in from museums and tech firms. But Jack refused the auctions. Crow's pressure mounted, anonymous threats, frozen accounts, but Jack countered with leverage. Copies emailed to journalists, timed releases. The collector slunk back, exposed in a quiet federal probe. Resolution came personal, raw. Jack donated the originals to a veterans' maritime museum, stipulating public access. No glory, just quiet funding for restorations. Boats like the ones he'd served on. In D, he kept one faded photo from the sub. The engineer's family, smiling, oblivious. Jack framed it by his window, watching sunsets over the bay. Wealth touched his life indirectly. A fixed roof, medical bills settled. But the real treasure was reclaiming agency after decades of fading into obscurity. Crow faded too, another shadow dispersed. If this tale of hidden depths and hard-won truths gripped you, smash that like button, subscribe for more cinematic dives into the extraordinary ordinary. Share with your thrill-seeking friends and drop a comment. What's the wildest garage sale score you've ever heard? Your stories fuel the next adventure.